Okay, we are live and ready, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, sounds good. All right, we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. This is a regular meeting of the Seldovia City Council for Monday, February 26, 2024. Time is 6:04 p.m. We'll go ahead and do a roll call. Peyton?
Here.
Keithley?
Here.
Rojas?
Here.
Kennedy?
Here.
Swick?
Here.
And we'll go ahead and note that Langbart is absent as of now, still planning to join us here shortly. And if either the city manager or city clerk will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. Item C, excused absences, none as of now. Item D, agenda approval. We'll go and look for a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve tonight's agenda by Keithley with a second from Rojas. Any additional comments or discussion on the agenda before we vote? Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and vote on the approval of tonight's agenda. All those in favor, Peyton?
Aye.
Keithley?
Aye.
Rojas?
Aye.
Kennedy?
Aye.
And Swick.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes 5 in the affirmative with 1 absent. And that is the approval of item D, tonight's agenda. Item E, consent agenda. All items under the consent agenda are approved with a single motion, no discussion, and 1 vote. Council member may request to remove any item for discussion and a separate vote. Items removed from the consent agenda will be placed under new business. Tonight's consent agenda, we have 1 item on there, and that is item 1, approval of the minutes of the regular meeting from February 12th, 2024. Does any member wish to remove any item at this time? Okay, and let the record reflect that Councilmember Langbart has now joined us. So we've got all 6 members. Okay, hearing that no member wants to remove any item tonight, we'll go ahead and look for a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda.
Make
Campbell.
a motion to approve
she's
tonight's
doing it.
consent agenda.
Okay, we have a second.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda by Rojas, second by Kennedy. Any further discussion on the consent agenda before we vote? Okay, hearing none, we will go ahead and vote on the approval of tonight's consent agenda. All those in favor, Peyton?
Aye.
Keithley?
Aye.
Langbart?
Aye.
Rojas?
Aye.
Kennedy?
Aye.
And Swick?
Aye.
Okay, consent agenda passes with a vote of 6 in the affirmative. We'll go ahead and move on to item F, mayoral proclamations, none. Item G, public presentations, prior notice. I don't see anybody signed up. Is that still the case?
Correct. We have no one signed up for public presentations.
Okay. And let's see here. Item H, public presentation for items not on the agenda. Do we have anyone that wishes to, from the public, that wishes to speak on that? And is signed
We
up?
do not, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Item I, committee and advisory board reports. Currently, we have none shown. Is that still also the case?
That's still the case.
Okay. Item J, administrative reports. Looks like we have the finance with the monthly written report, and that is found on page 7 of your packet. Give everyone a chance to look at that real quick if they haven't already. Any questions or comments from council on the finance report? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to the Harbor Master's report. That's going to be found on page 12 of your packet. Any questions or comments on the Harbor Master's report tonight? Okay. Let's see. And next item is the Public Works Maintenance Report.
And Mr. Mayor, that report did not make it into this meeting. We have been dealing with a sewer lift station issue that's taking precedence. So I apologize for that, but we do not have a report at this time for Public Works.
Okay, yeah, sounds good. I didn't see it in there. I was going to ask you if it was coming separate. So not a big deal. We'll get caught up here when the time is right. All right, that includes item J, administrative reports this evening. We'll move on down to item K, public hearings. Item K1, ordinance 24-06, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Seldovia repealing Chapter 2.52 and 2.53 and reenacting Chapter 2.52 City Personnel System to establish a City of Seldovia personnel policy. This was introduced on February 12th, and I'll go ahead and let the city manager present.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As well as having been introduced on February 12th, there was 2 work sessions to go over the draft personnel policy. This is a 2-part process. So the first part being the ordinance introduction, and then now the ordinance hearing that will amend the code. If you look at page 22, you'll see that it's going to strike out everything existing in chapter 2.52, a full repeal, and chapter 2.53, because that's the drug and alcohol abuse policy, and drug and alcohol policy is included in the personnel policy that will be discussed at the next part of this introduction, which is the resolution that adopts the policy itself. And so you'll see now the language for Chapter 2.52, according to this ordinance, will include 2.52020 personnel policy and 2.52030 personnel policy amendment. And it specifies that the Seldovia City Council shall adopt a personnel policy to direct the acts of city employees. And then the Seldovia City Council can amend the personnel policy when it deems necessary. Amendment shall be by resolution. So this part of the personnel policy is just the code change, and the next part will be the resolution adopting the policy itself.
Okay, thank you. Yep, this seems pretty straightforward. This is the administrative portion of this, as the city manager just explained. Any questions or additional comments from council?
Mayor Campbell.
Yeah, go ahead, John.
I spent quite a bit of time the other night in front of the TV reading this completely through. And I don't see anything out of line. It looks pretty standard to me. So I'm good with it.
Okay, sounds good. And then again, this is just the code portion, and then we'll get into when we get into the resolution, we can talk to the meat of the resolution in terms of the actual policy itself. So, anyone else before we go to public? Okay, hearing none. Do we have anyone from the public signed up, Liz, to speak on this evening?
No, Mr. Mayor, we don't have anybody signed up to speak on it, and we don't have any members of the public in the room.
Okay, sounds good. All right, we'll bring it back to council then. For any additional comments or questions, if none, we'll go ahead and look for a motion to approve ordinance 24-06.
I'll make a motion that we adopt ordinance 24-06.
Okay, we have a second.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion by Rojas to adopt ordinance 24-06 with a second from Langbart. Any additional questions, comments before we vote on ordinance 24-06? Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and vote on the approval of ordinance 24-06. All those in favor, Peyton,
Aye.
Keithley,
Aye.
Langbart,
Aye.
Rojas,
Aye.
Kennedy,
Aye.
and Swick.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes with 6 votes in the affirmative, and that is the approval of ordinance 24-06. All right, thank you for that. We'll move on to item L, unfinished business. We have none. Item M, new business. Item M1, resolution 24-29, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Seldovia, Alaska, adopting a City of Seldovia personnel policy. This is the second half of what we just adopted under ordinance 24-06. And I'll go ahead and let the city manager, city clerk present.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. As stated, this is the second half of the discussion, the personnel or the adoption of the personnel policy, as discussed per 2 work sessions. There were a few changes as recommended by the Seldovia City Council, including the donation of PTO. Sick leave is changed to include immediate family. Work schedules and hours of leave language was updated to be consistent. All of the city administrators were changed to city manager. Volunteer time is now specific to emergency volunteer response. Comp time was not included per discussion with our legal team. They recommended that instead of putting it in the policy, it was evaluated as case by case and included in the job description per employee as applicable. So with that, they did do a final review, gave back suggestions on those last edits, and all of the employees did receive a letter of notice, along with a copy of the policy. That employee notification letter is on page 25. It's really important that we made it very clear, and I had a verbal conversation with most employees and to ensure that it was understood that this is a significant change, as well as it does update the City of Seldovia's status from just cause to an at-will employer. I did receive, I included in the letter that feedback should be received by Friday, February 23rd. I did receive 4 comments back from employees. 2 were positive. Just thank you for having completed this task. 1 was an employee, a part-time employee, who requested that we consider including a table that indicated what sections of the policy are applicable for part-time employees versus full-time employees. And I stated that that was something that we can work on in the future. And then the last request was from also an employee with the status of part-time, who did request that the city consider offering holiday pay compensation for part-time employees. So if that's something that you guys want to address in the future, we can certainly look at it during the budget cycle as we go through. But other than that, I have not received any other comments or anything opposing putting this policy into place.
Okay, thank you, Heidi. All right, any questions, comments from council members?
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead, Vivian.
Yeah, I'm really happy that we've got this put together. Thank you, Heidi. One question I do have, because I couldn't quite find it. In the drug and alcohol section, do we have, years ago, there was a policy, and I can't remember where it was, that if we had an employee that had a difficulty with either drug or alcohol, that we help them find or receive treatment. Is that somehow written into this, or what is the standard?
Yeah, so there is a drug and alcohol free workplace policy included. It's 611. And it does state in there that employees with questions or concerns about substance dependency or abuse are encouraged to use the resources of an employee assistant program if available, or talk with a manager. Before that, it does state that violations of the policy may lead to disciplinary action up to and including immediate termination of employment or imposition of conditions for continued employment, such as participation in substance abuse assessment or rehabilitation treatment program. And continuing down, if the substance issue is not part of a current disciplinary investigation or action, the employee may seek leave to address the issue. Leave may be granted if the employee agrees to abstain from the use of problem substances, abide by all city policies and rules, and any other conditions placed on the leave. Family leave laws may require the city to grant leave. Refer to Section 4 of the Family and Medical Leave Act. And under the Drug and Free Workplace Act, an employee who performs work for a government contractor or grant must promptly notify the city of their criminal conviction for drug-related activity occurring in the workplace.
Okay, so it sounds like it's covered.
Yes.
Okay, great. And again, I think this is a great handbook that we have in our hands for the city employees. Again, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, thank you, Vivian. Appreciate your comments. Anyone else with questions or comments regarding the new policy?
Yes, I was just gonna say that all the feedback we got, that tells me that they went through and read it pretty well. So that's a really positive note that I took away from that. So all our hard work and your hard work is paid off.
Thank you, Ashley. Anyone else? Questions or comments? Yeah, I'll just offer a comment. Yeah, anytime you undergo a new, policy implementation like this, certainly you strive to try to capture everything you can in the initial policy. I'm, sure there'll be something that'll pop up at, as time allows. Again, the beautiful thing about this is it's a policy in a handbook that so we can simply come back. The manager can simply come back to council if she finds an issue or something that wasn't covered, or a scenario that wasn't addressed, and we can relook at it and implement any changes as necessary. So that's definitely a good thing. I appreciate the staff's hard work on this. I know this was a lot of work, and this is the right thing for us to do. Absolutely, we should have. We owe it to our employees to have a personnel policy. That's open and transparent for everyone to basically see. So this is a good step forward, being one of the larger employers here in town. So that's all I have. Thanks for the good job on this. Anyone else questions or comments on the new employment policy? Okay, we'll go ahead and go to public. I don't know if we have anyone signed up or wanting to speak on this, Liz.
No, Mr. Mayor, we do not have anybody previously signed up and there's nobody in the room to speak.
Okay. So we'll go ahead and bring it back to council then for final action. Any comments, questions? And if none, then we'll go ahead and look for a motion to adopt resolution 24-29.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 24-29.
A second.
Okay, we have a motion by Rojas to approve resolution 24-29. Sorry, I couldn't catch who was the second.
Keithley.
Okay, with the second by Keithley. Thank you. Any additional comments, questions before we vote on the approval of resolution 24-29? Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and vote on the approval of resolution 24-29. All those in favor, Peyton,
Aye.
Keithley,
Aye.
Langbart,
Aye.
Rojas,
Aye.
Kennedy,
Aye.
and Swick.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes with a vote of 6 in the affirmative. All right, thank you. That's a good piece of work. And that will conclude item M, new business. That'll take us on to item N, city manager's report, and this can be found in tonight's laydown.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So if you haven't had a chance to look through it, just a few updates on what's happening in the city. First of all, a septic lift station update. We did have a pretty massive amount of inflow and infiltration going through our system last week with the weather that we had. Our lift station did fill, and then we had to implement some secondary pumps to help with that overflow. With that, the overflow was going into the tank, and the tank itself was overflowing. It was a little bit of a scary mess. Our remote maintenance worker, Tanner Code, came down with DEC, and he was able to document everything that was taking place. It did resolve itself, and the tank is operating again as per normal. However, they were estimating some pretty massive amounts of fluids running through that system just due to weather and that inflow and infiltration more than that tank can hold. So we're eagerly awaiting his report back. And then, of course, that report will be through DEC and our upcoming VSW projects, carrying that conversation through about how important it is for us to address our system as a whole, as well as to address the lift station at this moment. We did contact or were put in contact with Water Distribution Solutions through HDR, and they are coming down. They're scheduled to come down this week to evaluate the system, the lift station system itself, and provide a cost estimate for the repair and refurbishment. An initial wild guess for the project cost was $20,000 to $22,000. The biggest project delay anticipated at this time will be getting the parts to Alaska and then ensuring that we have decent section available during the project construction, even with the multiple pumps running in that infrastructure at this time. I mean, they're still probably 10 to 12 feet off the ground away from the pumps with fluid. So that's a big problem, is making sure that we can suck it dry and keep it dry while we work on the project. We were in discussion with Water Distribution Solutions, myself and Jordan Cameron, operator Cameron, tried to make sure that that was very clear that that was an issue. And they seemed to think that as long as they knew about it, that they would be able to come up with a solution for it. So we look forward to seeing them here and getting that estimate from them. One option for funding for this project is the state revolving fund program. We did receive or set to receive a state revolving fund loan for the SLU sewer project. That's that $495,000 portion that wasn't applicable for the VSW grant. We did apply and we received a loan, or are set to receive that loan with 100% forgiveness rate. That was one thing that was discussed at our during our conference last week. Carrie Bohan from DAC, who operates the program, runs the program, was there. Very, very much encouraging communities to apply because they have millions of dollars right now, and they're giving away loans with significant amounts of forgiveness, including some pretty large rewards with 100% forgiveness. So I do think it would be worth pursuing that just to see if we can get at least a portion of the project forgiven. And I'll let you know how that goes. They recommend, the closing period for that is February 29th. So it's a little bit of a tight timeline for when they come down, but it's not a very big application. And I figured we can at least apply for what we know and then go from there. AML Winter Legislative Conference, myself, Clerk Diamond, and Councilmember Langbart attended the AML Legislative Conference in Juneau last week. We were able to meet with many of our state delegates, including Senator Stevens. We met with Representative Vance's office and Representative Stute's office. We weren't able to meet with the representatives themselves because I don't know if you heard in the news, but they had this huge education bill discussion. They had a few late night meetings or on the floor while we were there, where they were talking about the line items for the bill itself. They did end up passing it, so we'll see how that goes. That includes the BCA increase and some of the other priorities of the governor, as well as some other items that were introduced from members of the House. So we'll see. It does go back to the Senate, and then from there, the governor needs to approve it. But it's a step forward. We were able to meet with staff instead, and that was really positive. We also met with ADOT Deputy Commissioner Catherine Keith. We talked about AMHS and the STIP. And we know that we also saw, and she talked a lot about that being their priority right now, that the federal government did decline their submission for their state transportation improvement program. So they have until March 1st to resubmit, and our CDS funds are wrapped up in that. For dirt, as well as our jackloff program. Jackloff replacement project was included in it, but I don't know that it impacts it. I think it's just it's a project that they have identified that will be ongoing in the area. We also met with the Department of Health and Social Services to discuss senior meals funding. That was very enlightening, not super positive. I mean, it wasn't bad, but it just, we were able to identify that we are in a 3-year cycle with these loans. And so the same amount that we received this year and last year, which is that kind of that half funding amount, will be the same amount we receive next year until we're able to reapply for the competitive loan in 2026. And then they'll reevaluate funding from there. So that needs to be part of our budget discussion as we move forward, is how we fund this program, or what services we provide with it, knowing that we will remain in a deficit for it for another year. And then we met also with Governor Dunleavy. We were able to extend a formal invitation from the Seldovia Chamber of Commerce for the governor to be the Seldovia Independence Day honorary Old Crab. We weren't able to meet with individuals from Anchorage DOT due to a travel back, but overall, I'd say the experience was very valuable. It may not be one that we need to go to every year. We'll have to determine on what our asks are. The big items that we talked about was education. We were able to share the resolution that the council passed and that the borough passed. The assembly was there, quite a few members, and that was their main goal while they were there, as well as to discuss education. We talked about our Jacklock Bay dock replacement project, the importance of continued AMHS service to the community, the importance of the community assistance program, and our capital legislative priority requests. So hopefully we hear some information back. We're included in some of those CAPSIS funds this year with the state, but at least getting our story out there and being able to discuss what was important to Seldovia seemed to be extremely beneficial. Plus, it was really beneficial to hear, and I really recommend if you guys have time at an upcoming conference and are able to attend, it's helpful to hear that we're all dealing with the same issues. Communities across the state are dealing with education issues. They're dealing with sewer issues. They're dealing all of the things that we are just going through and are in the thick of. There's certainly other people that are going through it as well. We are not alone. And AML is a great place to be able to hear that and have the voices combined to really just know what the focuses are as a state on the municipal level. AMHS April Kennecott schedule. Ooh, I kind of fumbled my words there a little bit. It has come to my attention that the Kennecott is on the schedule to come to to come to Kodiak in the first week of April. So that was something else that I discussed with the DOT commissioner as well, a deputy commissioner, as well as the AMHS scheduler and their operations manager or traffic manager, I should say. So we would love for her to stop in on her way by the Kennecott, that is. I haven't heard back yet, but we'll keep emailing and making phone calls and see if we can get some kind of agreement for the Kennecott to at least stop in for a quick visit on our way through. I'll let you know how that goes. Kenai Peninsula Borough Multi-Jurisdiction Hazard Mitigation Plan. The Kenai Peninsula Borough Office of Emergency Management has offered to include the city of Seldovia in their hazard mitigation plan. This is something that we've been trying to accomplish on our own for over the past year. We did apply for funding. It's still tied up with FEMA. They haven't made any awards yet. The state did reach out and asked if we were still wanting to pursue it because after talking to KPB OEM, we said that we were definitely interested in this and would like to move forward with being included in the plan. And so the state is just wanting to see where we're at and if we still need funding. I did inquire if there were any considerations of why we should continue to complete our own plan and continue to update that versus being included in the borough. And I haven't heard a response back yet. But if we do not hear that response, I think the advantages of being included in the KPB's plan are to ensure reinstatement of our eligibility for future grant funding with FEMA if needed, and that we can hopefully have more regular updates that continue to occur because it's a 5-year program that we have to update it, and it's just has been a little bit of a struggle this time around. It's also an excellent example of partnership and collaboration. So as long as I don't hear any opposition and we don't hear anything back from the state, that's the way we plan to address updating that hazard mitigation plan. It sounds like Seward is also doing it. So I think the borough has a goal to eventually be able to incorporate all of the communities, all the municipalities, but it is a rather expensive ticket. That was another question I did ask the borough, as if there would be an additional cost to us. And she said she didn't believe so at this time. It would just be resources. Staff time. We have to provide them information as they need it, and also be able to hold a few public meetings about the draft when it comes out. Jack Loft Bay Dock Replacement Project. We did issue the RFP. We received a few questions and we do need to amend it regarding the consideration of cost as a proposal score category. Well, that amendment will take place later this week, as well as answering those questions. We are excited. We've received several inquiries of interest and look forward to seeing proposals submitted later in March. We also met with the MARAD project engineer and project administrator last week about Jack Loft's current engineering status and their upcoming visits, along with other additional requirements. The project administrator was very understanding of our situation and suggested on a short timeline that we are able to work on the grant negotiation process at the same time as we are working on our NEPA review. That way, when the NEPA is complete, we're able to just sign off on the grant and move forward with the construction phase. So we will see how that goes, but I'm glad that they're understanding of the timeline and wanting to see this go through quickly as well. There's a Seward Tsunami Operations Workshop through the state of Alaska next month. At the beginning of April, Harbor Master Jant Peterson and City Clerk / Public Information Officer Liz Diamond will be attending. Travel and lodging for the workshop are provided by the state. That city logo contest I mentioned last time, I did write up a draft for the contest with requirements, and it's attached in this packet. If you guys have any opinions, opposition, ideas, please let me know. Otherwise, we'll continue to move forward with that project. Otherwise, under project and activity updates, raw water transmission line, we did not receive the CDBG application for the gap funding we have for that project, which is our community grant project through the EPA, or the CDS funding through Murkowski. Employee de-escalation training did end up being postponed due to weather. So we are rescheduling for March 12th. We received back our DEC wastewater permit inspection violation report. Responses are due by mid-April. I haven't had a chance to work through it fully yet with being out of office last week. So we'll begin working through that this week and start trying to remedy those violations. And the REVEAP program grant application, this is something that we were hoping to accomplish, and we still might be able to. Finance Officer Yeager was working on it today. This is for the energy improvements to the city office building, windows, doors, insulation. Another project was a heat pump for the harbor master's office, and then siding for this building. We're trying to get it in by the deadline. That's February 29th. But we've been pretty busy, so we'll see how it goes. There's still hope. Community grant, we received the technical correction. I had a meeting with our CAC for application technical support last week, and then we're going to meet again on Thursday to really solidify the application plan. That's great that they're able to provide us assistance with that. We're still awaiting official notice of award for the cybersecurity grant. Once we get that, a resolution will come forward to the council for approval. We're also working on a service line grant application for the city through Radzy's working on that. So thank you, Radzy, for continuing to work on it. And as I mentioned, there's information here on the STIP and our 22,000 in material being tied up in that. So we'll see how that works with the state. Seldovia Gateway kiosks, we signed the lease with Kohl's Vending. So that's been executed for the next year and moving forward. And everything else is fairly status quo. So let me know if you have any questions.
Okay, thank you, Heidi. Any questions, comments from council on any item on tonight's manager's report?
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead, Vivian.
Yeah, thank you for the extensive report. On the septic lift station issue, was it infiltration from the saltwater and the slough? Or was it just an incredible rain and melting of snow you had, and that got into the waste system? What actually happened? And this is so waking up all of us that what needs to be done down there is really on the edge of blowing up. I'm sorry to see that we're in such a state, but could you elaborate, Heidi, if it was, are we still dealing with the saltwater infiltration of the lift station on the south end, or was it stormwater?
Through the mayor, thank you. That's an excellent question. It is stormwater, so we are not seeing a huge significance of uptick in flow from the slough sewer lift station. A lot of the inflow is coming from Vista Avenue, pretty much running full bore down that pipe. We also had a little bit of a geyser from just the groundwater around the casing of the lift station. We had it just shooting through the case into the lift station from the groundwater. If that gives you a picture. And then the rest of the flow coming from the Main Street sewer line. They were able to plug the manhole by the liquor store, the Seldovia liquor store, and then we're evaluating at the manhole in front of the Linwood to see where the flow was coming from. And at that point, they thought that the majority of the flow was actually coming down Seldovia Street, Young Street area. But we are really looking forward to having the planning work completed by VSW. I hope that comes through this summer. I'm glad that Tanner was here when they were experiencing this issue, to be able to document it well. It's on the forefront of our minds that it needs to be addressed fairly quickly. It has subsided quite a bit. Right now, Vista Avenue is back to normal, with a significantly depleted flow. It still flows quite a bit, but it's not running full open like it was. The geyser that was happening from the casing in the ground is no longer flowing. It's just a light trickle, and it's still filling. I mean, we're not able to pump. We're not pumping as well as we should with what is filling. So we have additional pumps still in the lift station itself that are pumping directly into the septic tank. But it's a lot more under control now. And Jordan's been watching it. I don't want to say around the clock, but really around the clock. He goes down about 10 p.m. every night, checks on everything, goes in first thing every morning, checks on it. It's holding for now, but it's definitely not a sustainable solution. So we're really hoping those guys make it down this week and we can get them on board as soon as possible to do more of a permanent fix.
Wow. Well, thank you. And thank you for the staying on top of it and having the people that are helping us get through this. But boy, it just lets us know how vulnerable we are with that system. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, thank you, Vivian. Yeah, Heidi had a follow up to that then. So effectively, then we'd have to do like a hands-on survey inspection of every manhole, every sewer manhole.
Mhm.
I mean, like right during the surge when all this is going on, to kind of identify the lines that we think are the problems here. Obviously, either there's something busted or we're just getting infiltration into the tops of the manholes, or possibly water running down the sides of the manholes, and maybe a sewer pipe is busted coming out of there, or somehow fresh water is getting into the sewer system. I mean, that's what I'm hearing, right? I mean, this is all, 90% of this has got to be additional fresh water.
Correct.
Okay.
Mayor Campbell.
Go ahead, Joe.
That's really my question too, is this kind of on the same lines of what Vivian was talking about. Is we really need to do an assessment of where the groundwater is coming from during this high water times. And I know that's going to be difficult because it's difficult to plan when you don't know when storms can move from one week to the next. But even in the life cycle of those pumps down there, if they're going to be expected to pump 5 times the water that they normally would have to pump, it's an additional cost to us to run those pumps longer and premature wear on them and everything. So just putting the pumps down there is not going to solve our problem. We're going to have to do some type of inspection to try to at least maybe hit the top 2 or 3 items with the biggest leaks anyway. I don't know. There's got to be some way to do that.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, because the problem is obviously from DEC standpoint, they don't care if it's fresh water or not. Once we reach maximum capacity, then we start having a sewage. I mean, even if it's, it's highly diluted sewage, but it's still sewage, right? Raw sewage, effectively, that's not being treated or coming up and out of the tank. So um, yeah, we can talk more on that one, Heidi. Yeah, I know you're on it, obviously, but yeah, we're starting to definitely hit some high levels of concern here that we're probably going to have to start looking at immediate some funding solutions and some planning going for. And I know it's all in the works, but yeah, we're going to have a couple of emergency backup plans here if we have too many more of these, obviously. Any other questions, comments from council on any of the items on tonight's report?
Yeah, I had a question about this logo contest again. So what happened with the ones that were submitted to the fire department?
So I believe through the mayor, I believe that you guys are looking at scheduling a meeting, a membership meeting in the middle of March, and that you may still pick out a logo and then utilize that for some gear, shirts, things, and follow through with that competition. That'll be really up to the department on their decision. And then if the department does not want to be a part of the logo contest, we can remove them. But when speaking with the EMS chief, there was a thought that potentially it would be beneficial for you guys to still be a part of the overall logo contest. That way we have a branding that similar branding that works through all the departments.
Okay, I feel like it's going to get confusing with whoever won the other one, and then then we're not going to use it. I guess that's a conversation for the other meeting, I guess. But I was just confused because you have the fire department listed as one of the 4 for this one. So
yeah. And we're waiting to post this or do anything with it until we hear back from the department where you want to be with it.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Thanks, Jen. Any other questions, comments? Heidi, I had a follow-up to the STIP. Did you get a chance to talk with anyone down there in regards to why the STIP was rejected by the federal government?
Yes, we did speak with Deputy Commissioner Catherine Keefe for the Alaska Department of Transportation. She seemed like they were pretty confounded about the situation, that they had already submitted a draft of the plan. They had been through multiple discussions on the plan, worked with the federal government while they were working through the plan. There was some logistics, I guess, with the discretionary grants, which it would include the CDS funding for us. But they seemed pretty confident that they would be able to keep them in due to the fact that it was just money that was kind of passing through. But some of the other projects, they were included because they're communities that would like to receive funding, and it looks better for applications if they're included in the state's transportation plan in order to pursue funding. And so there was some confusion about why those projects wouldn't be included. Regardless, they were in, constant conversation, it seemed like, about how to resubmit the application and get it in by March 1st in order for it to be approved. Did that answer your question? Sorry.
Yeah. No, I was just curious. I mean, I read a little bit on the, in the news, obviously, about some of the issues. I think it caught a lot of people, off guard. I know a lot of the projects we do are DOT funded projects, and, as well as a lot of businesses around the state and communities are obviously dependent on that funding. I think there's $4.5 billion at stake or something here over the next 3 or 4 years. And a lot of people were caught off guard that was rejected by the federal government. So obviously highly disappointing, not sure, again, what transpired or happened down there in Juneau, but obviously, or Anchorage, wherever it was, the final submission was sent from DOT, but obviously a big mess for sure. So, yep, I'm sure they're going to work this out. Obviously they have to, there's really not any other option. So, okay, no, that sounds good. And then just a couple updates. You probably saw this afternoon late that education bill in Juneau, it was passed by the Senate. I think 18-1 was the vote on that. And then it sounded like the governor was still not happy. It was a bipartisan bill. Obviously, it's been passed by both the House and Senate now. A lot of compromise on both sides, but there was a press release, I think, by the governor that he still wasn't happy. He's taking a look at it, and probably wouldn't be surprising if it still gets vetoed this late in the game. So we'll see what happens here in the next day or two. But yeah, obviously there was a significant BSA increase in that. There was a lot of different things that in terms of funding for the districts, et cetera, et cetera. But I don't think it went far enough, and according to the governor's press release. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, that's obviously a lot of folks in Alaska on pins and needles right now, depending on the outcome of that. Certainly districts awaiting to see the final results of that. Let's see. Any other? Did you have an update now on anything on the DNR with the Shady lease, or is that going to be next meeting, or where are we at with that?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. If you're referring to the Uplands lease, I did speak with DNR last week briefly, and I have a meeting scheduled with them this week. I was able to receive, somebody sent me information that they received pertaining to the application for the lease of those lands through a public records request. And speaking with DNR, it does appear that they are asking for a reduced footprint, which would leave some available uplands for the city to be able to lease through DNR. However, we still have a ways to go in that discussion. So that meeting is scheduled. If you are available, I believe it's Wednesday. I can get you that exact time if you'd like to attend, Mr. Mayor. Otherwise, we'll move forward and see what DNR has to say about the process and go from there.
Yeah, sounds good. I knew there was a little bit of movement on that, and yeah, obviously you'll have a lot more to share here after your meeting this week. So, just wanted to throw that out there. Appreciate that.
And that's Wednesday at 2 p.m.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, I'll let you know. All right. Any other final questions, comments before we wrap it up here this evening?
Nothing from me, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Sounds good. Okay. Thank you for that report. Item O, informational items not requiring action. I don't see any. Item P, executive session. None this evening. Item Q, council and mayor comments concerning items not on the agenda. Peyton.
Yeah, I watched the boys out there working on that pump station the other day. It was pretty nipply out there, pretty windy when they were out working on that. But you guys, wow, Heidi, you got a lot going on. You guys are amazing. Good job on your pamphlet and all your applications that you guys are submitting. Obviously, Oliver is cheering you on in the background. And I wish we could all be in Mexico, Mayor.
Yeah, sorry you have to witness this. 81 and sunny every day. It's pretty nice down here.
You just hush.
All right, Keith Lee.
Nothing this evening.
All right, Langbart.
Aye.
Rojas.
Just a big thank you for everything that everybody does for the city and the hard work and the good work that's coming out of the city office. And thank you, Mayor, for checking in tonight with us.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks, Vivian. Kennedy
I don't have anything tonight. Thanks.
and Swick.
No comment.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone. Nothing for me. And let's see, our next regular meeting will be held on March 11th at 6 p.m. And I'll go ahead and look for a motion to adjourn.
Mayor
Okay.
Campbell?
We have a motion. Yep. Go ahead, John.
I'll make a motion to adjourn tonight's evening, the meeting.
And
Okay,
I'll
we have a
second that,
second. Okay. We have a motion to adjourn with a second. Any objections? Okay. Hearing none, we are adjourned tonight. Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Okay. Have a good night, you guys.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Good night.